Okay, we're ready to get started here again. I'll briefly review the rules and how we're going to go through tonight for you before we get started. Prior to the forum, each of the candidates drew a number. In this race, we drew by district, so we will rotate not only by the first and the second person in each district, but by district, so everyone hopefully gets a chance to go first. Hopefully the time will allow that. Oh, no questions again in this one, so. Yes, it'll be the same question across the board to you. So, yes, all six will get the same question. And those questions have been developed by us, and you all haven't had a chance to see them. We just looked in the basket, and no suggestions from the audience again this evening. We'll begin with your introductions, and they will be a minute apiece. You'll be assigned time limits on each of the questions, and we will tell you those as we go. The green light will come on to tell you that there's 20 seconds left, and when the red light comes on, you have 5 seconds left. Our goal is to hopefully give us about 40 minutes or so, or 45 minutes for this part, because there's a big group up here, and that way we can talk about some of the issues for this evening. We do have the ability to do a rebuttal again this time. We've changed the way that we are doing it. If you want to offer a rebuttal, you must signal me after the candidates in that question complete the question, and raise your hand or signal me and let me know. And you would do the rebuttal and have 30 seconds, and the rebuttal would have to deal with that issue with that question and bring up no new information. I think all that part's right. Exactly the way we did it before. We're just doing it tied to the question so that the information all stays together with the topic that we're discussing at the time. At the end of the questions, each of the candidates will have 90 seconds for their closing remarks. We do ask that the audience refrain from clapping or other noise during the forum, and then at the end, we'll give you time to thank the candidates for their participation. So let's get started with the openings. So Mr. Bowling, it looks like you're 1-1, so you get to go first. You'll have 60 seconds for your opening remarks.
I think everybody knows who I am. I'm Floyd Bowling.
Speak into the microphone so you can be heard.
I'm Floyd Bowling. I'm the candidate for District 1, Magistrate. I want to thank the News Democrat and the FFA for having us here tonight. I've lived in Carroll County for 48 years. I've been an entrepreneur. I've been in several businesses. I've been a magistrate for the last 12 years. I've been married to my wife for 51 years, and I'm blessed to serve you here tonight.
All right, the second opening will come from Mr. Embry in District 2.
Hello everybody, thanks for coming again tonight. Thanks to the News Democrat and the FFA for partnering on this. Again, my name is Cody Hembry. I'm the Republican candidate for District 2 Magistrate. I graduated from Carroll County High School in 2012. I've been a lifelong resident of Carroll County. I'm currently a firefighter paramedic in Northern Kentucky, and I volunteer with the Gen Fire Protection District for about 7 years. I've also previously served on the Carroll County EMS, and still help in any way I can, although I've removed myself from the department ever since establishing that I was going to run for office. My main goal for this is to be able to create a better Carroll County for my kids, your kids, and the rest of the future for Carroll County through improvements of our public service, with staffing of our sheriff's office, as well as improvements in our infrastructure and anything else that is important. I want to thank you again for coming out. I look forward to talking with you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you get the next time for openings, and you have 60 seconds.
Good evening. If fresh water is never added to a pond or lake, it can become stagnant, unproductive, hard to see through, and downright stink. By comparison, if there are never any fresh faces added to state, local, or federal governments, the government can become stagnant, unproductive, hard to see through, and can downright stink. I'm Damon Lewis, and I'm running for Magistrate District 3, first time running, and it's time for the county to make a right turn. Thanks.
All right, back to District 1, Mr. Long. You have 60 seconds for your opening.
Hi, my name's Benjamin Long. I'm running for Carroll County Magistrate District 1. I've lived in Carroll County my entire life. I graduated from Carroll County High School. The name might sound familiar to you. My parents are Bill and Denise Long. My brothers are Wyatt and Hyatt Long, and I am the proud uncle of Wason Long. I am an entrepreneur right here in Carroll County, farmer. If elected as Carroll County Magistrate District 1, I plan to redirect our focus on things that benefit us all as a community. We need to invest in our future. Carroll County has a lot of potential, and we need to capitalize on our assets. Thank you.
All right, back over to District 2, Mr. Graham. You have 60 seconds.
Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to see everybody come out tonight. Thank you, News Democrat and FFA, for having us here tonight. I'm Kerry Graham, Magistrate in District 2. I've been serving my first year or 4-year term here. And I'm 57 years old, 45 years here in Carroll County. I'm a graduate from Carroll County High, vocational school, and the University of Phoenix. I've been married to my wife Sandy for 38 years. Be coming up here October 24th. I'm 38 years in the local industry here in Carroll County. 29 years of that is at Dow Chemical Company, and I'm current mechanical maintenance group leader there and an outstanding member of the Welding Society. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Bates, you get the last of the opening remarks, and you'll have 60 seconds.
Just want to say thanks for everybody coming out tonight. Thank you all for providing this opportunity for everybody to see what's going on here. Most of you know, my name is Mark Bates. I've had the pleasure and honor of serving this community in numerous fashions throughout my entire life. I'm a lifelong resident of this community. I've served 16 years on the fiscal court, 38 years in local industries, and lifelong involvement in this community through our church, through our local boards, the extension, the Gent Fire Board, and just volunteering in general. You know, we are here to serve, and I hope I have been a good servant to each and every one of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Now with this next question, we'll start in District 2 with the candidate number 2 and go through the number 2s first and then go back to the number 1s, and then I'll switch back and hopefully I can keep up with this. I've got Marjorie here to help me. This question is going to be a 60-second question. So Mr. Graham, you get to go first on this one. Through the many candidate forums that we've held, one issue keeps coming up: the need to clean up the entrance to the community off I-71 at exit 44. What is your solution to this issue that everyone sees as a problem that must be addressed?
Well, I don't know if there is really a total real solution to the problem. I know we have a county ordinance in place that needs to be revisited, it needs to be tightened up, and it needs to be enforced. We need to take the statements out of there about the homeowners putting them up against the other homeowners, business owners, what have you, and that needs to come out of there. I know there's a lot of other things that need to be done in that ordinance as well. It's probably gonna lead into more than just one ordinance. We'll probably have to have several ordinances, to accomplish that. And I do know that, there's been individuals that, has been notified by the state and EPA by letter to appear in court. So we'll just have to see how that comes out. Thank you.
All right. Actually, it jumps over to Mr. Bates. I know this is very confusing. I probably got it too confusing for us all, but hey, it makes it more interesting that way. Mr. Bates, you'll have 60 seconds. The question, through the many candidate forums we've had over the past months, one of the issues that keeps coming up is the need to clean up around the entrance to the community off I-71 at exit 44. What is your solution to this issue that everybody sees as a problem that must be addressed?
Well, I think there's probably a twofold solution to some of that. I think there's a twofold solution to some of that. You know, we've just got out of a bad economic downturn. When that business owner took that piece of property, and I think we're all familiar with what everybody's talking about there, you know, and with the bad economy, bad turns and stuff, and now that the economy's turned better, you know, maybe we can assist him in developing that piece of property for the betterment of our community. And then also, you know, it's probably time to look at some tightening of our ordinances and how we handle our solid waste here in our community.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long, you have 60 seconds.
There's a few things in this community, like out to the interstate, and you know, that I see as a problem. I always said if you could take 3 or 4 places in this community and get it forced to get cleaned up, Carroll County's image would be a lot better. And you know, maybe we do need to look into some type of you know, or rework our ordinances. You know, and you know, maybe you know, there's state and federal standards and codes that should be met. And you know, the junk. You know, I'm a farmer. Me and my brothers, we farmed our whole lives, and we take pride in what we do and the image we put out there. And I think people should take pride in what, you know, in our community and what we have to look at, because that is not a good image. You know, I don't. You know, we mow right of ways, keep everything clean for that particular reason, because we care about our image here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hamburg.
As everybody's kind of already mentioned, I believe it's also time to revisit that current ordinance that we have. I do believe there was good intentions originally in developing that, and that was the first step forward. However, right now we're holding our citizens more accountable to make issue and raise issue, but we're not holding the property owners accountable themselves to where that issue never rises. It is currently holding us back from moving forward in development in our area. When that's the first thing that you see when you come off the interstate as a business owner and as an investor, it's a tough thing to grasp and a tough thing to get over. There's an opportunity for Carroll County Fiscal Court to approach problem properties and offer assistance in development, ideas, contacts, and things like that to help progress those areas forward. And there's a huge opportunity for growth in Carroll County still if we follow through and do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you have 60 seconds for that one.
There's been talk about ordinances, and you know, we've been looking at this situation for quite a while now. And you know, after the infrastructure, you know, that's my main priority. But after that is all, you know, back up to par. I think the fiscal court needs to think about purchasing a property, and then we can go. You know, we can go from there and have some ideas and you know, develop it the way we would like to develop it at that point. But I think we need to look at purchasing the property.
Okay, thank you. You have to be next. Yes, Mr. Bowling, you have 60 seconds.
Pretty much did all what everybody said on that piece of property. property's been shook around, tried. He originally built a pad to put a Cracker Barrel on. And it was approved. And then they got into a lawsuit because they couldn't cross the railroad track. So he's had problems with the piece of property since he's had it. It's in a flood zone. About the only thing you can do is try to help him get it cleaned up and get it out. Ordinances do help. By the time you get them wrote, there'll probably be more stuff in them. So that's the only way I know of getting the property cleaned up. If you purchase it, you've bought a swamp. So I think that's the only way we could do it is by ordinance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. We'll move on to the next question, and this one will be 90 seconds. And with my weird rotation, Mr. Lewis, you get to go first. Since the spring forums, there have been conversations about the county selling Camp Kysock to another entity. The YMCA has been mentioned as well as the Extension Service. Where do you stand on this, and what vision do you have for Camp Kysock? 90 seconds.
I think the purchase of Camp Kysock was a good thing. And this is my opinion. I think, I know we have a team of people that are dedicated for doing a button up of Camp Kysock and, kind of tidying up the buildings for now. But I would like to direct our attention toward the county park. I think the county pool has outlived its usefulness, and I would like to see some kind of a nice sports complex in a place at the county pool. Eventually, I know it's all about the money, but our kids need something to do, year round in the winter time. I hate to lose anything, Camp Kysock has a nice mature forest, so I would hate to, do anything major out there as far as building or constructing, but that's my view on it.
Okay, thank you so much. The next answer goes to Mr. Bowling. So you'll have 90 seconds.
Repeat that.
Okay. Since the spring forums, there have been many conversations about selling Camp Kysock to another entity. The YMCA and Extension Service have both been mentioned. Where do you stand on this, and what is your vision for Kysock?
I think Kysock's going to be viable. There's a group that's enticed in cleaning it up. I have a vision of it being getting the pool open, which is almost open. We schedule a cleanup, I think, now, and I think it'll be a valuable piece of property for the county. I don't think we have any other issues with it. I don't think the extension office is planning on purchasing it, so I think that was off the table. So I think we've got a good thing going, and think we need to leave it off.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Henry, you have 90 seconds.
We as Carroll County have been very blessed to be able to purchase that property years ago. It has already come to be a very valuable part of our community with the addition of JCTC that the county was able to give part of that land to them to help grow that school. We also have a great group of people that have been charged with taking ownership of that place right now, getting it started up, cleaning it up, and doing a lot of good stuff with that. They're working very hard right now on that. As far as coming up with a final game plan, there's a lot of things we need to take into consideration, such as the possible uses, the overhead that it would take to manage the property over time. But I think it's a huge opportunity for partnerships with the schools, the FFA, the Extension Office, and Parks and Rec as well. There's many different uses that we can make out of that property, and for the amount of money that we got for a property that's basically invaluable to the assets that it brings to our community is pretty great thing. And the fiscal court at the time did a great job of purchasing that property. That was something that we should have never let go, so that's great. But that's all I got.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Bates, it goes over to you. You have 90 seconds.
My stance on Camp Cossack has not changed at all. I'm still in support of funding it to make it available for our community to use. I'm in favor of everyone being able to utilize the Camp Cossack property. We have several organizations throughout our community, fortunately, have seen some growing pains. And we as a community need to look at all options for each and every one of us. But my stance hadn't changed at all. Camp Cossack is part of our community, and I'm going to support funding it, but I'm also going to support for the entire community to be able to utilize that property for the benefit of our community and everyone in it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long, you have 90 seconds for that question.
I think Camp Cossack has a lot of potential, but in the same breath, we do have a county park. We have a lot of things. My big issue with Camp Cossack is we've owned it 3 years. What have we done with it? It's set it there. It's cost us money. It might be a valuable asset, but I don't go out and buy a farm and not plant nothing on it for 3 years I try to make a revenue with it. And if we can use it, if we can find some way for the community that it benefits everybody, and I can lean both ways on it, but if it's going to continue to set for another 4 years, I think you need to sell it, because I think it's just sitting there costing you money. It costs you money to maintain it, employees, equipment, wear and tear, retirement. There's a lot of things that go into that, and so if we don't do something with it soon, you need to sell it. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, you get to close out the answers on this question. You have 90 seconds.
I think everybody knows where I stand on Camp Cossack. I've been personally involved with Camp Cossack since we purchased it. It was a great thing. We didn't have money in the budget to purchase Cossack at the time, but we searched through the different line items and come up with the money to purchase Cossack. So my stance on Cossack is we're going to revitalize it. We're going to get it out here for the whole community to use. We've been working hard since August, trying to get a good game plan together. I'm glad the question came up because it's near and dear to me, and as much as it is to the rest of the fiscal court. And we've got a cleanup scheduled November the 3rd. Please come out. We need help. It's been sitting there, like Benji's mentioned, but the court's been funding this for many years. We've been leasing it for many years. So we've been funding Camp Cossack anyhow. So it's not like it's an astronomical amount of money that the court has been funding this. So I'm glad that I had the chance to get up here and talk about Cossack, because Karma is part of the group that I'm involved with and a liaison between the court. So please come out and help us.
Okay, thank you all. We'll move on to our fourth round, and this one will begin with Mr. Long. So you'll get this question. It is 60 seconds. The state highways in Carroll County are in bad shape in many locations. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has indicated the money is limited for projects as their budgets tighten. What solution do you offer to address these roads?
Your state highways are, that's handled through the State Department, and I know there's issues out there. Highway 55 there, it's breaking away in part of the creek. 36 is breaking away, but also, you got to make phone calls as far as along the lines of, call up to Florence and talk to the State Department. And if there's no fundings there for, you know, to get these roads fixed, you know, then you can contact your, you know, local state senators and stuff of that nature and see if maybe you can get some pull and get some help to get an issue addressed if it's dangerous or can cause issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, you get the next 60-second answer on this one.
Repeat that question, please.
The state highways in Carroll County are in bad shape in many locations. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet has indicated the money is limited for projects as their budgets tighten. What solution would you offer to address these roads?
Well, we've already been addressing the problems out here already. Of course, you're always at the mercy of FEMA and NRC when you get out here, and we have the type of torrential downpours that we've had that's given the roadways so much trouble where they're falling in. And we as a court have done nothing but in the past 3 years that I know since I've been in almost 4 now, is complain about roads and the conditions of the roads. We've got some of the main stretches taken care of. We're getting ready to start working on the roads that we have out here. There's 57 or 59 of them been identified. And we finally got the money from FEMA to fund this, and we'll start tackling those.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bates, you have 60 seconds on this question.
Yes, as serving on fiscal court for the past 4 terms, I've had the pleasure of working with 4 different governors since I've been in fiscal court. And it's always a challenge that first year or 2 when a new governor comes in. They're always looking at the budgets to see where they can cut and do the projects they want. You know, so it's always a constant battle. We're always talking to the governor's office. We're always reaching out to our state representatives and our state senators to assist us in this. As you can see, you know, we've had a $13.5 million project up on 42 that's completed. We completed 227, 47, and Highway 36 is having a culvert replaced. So we're beginning to see some of these projects being released. And I think what's happened here is the new administration has transitioned, and they've learned that money still has to be spent on roads, that they're very important to, not only to the local community, but also to the Commonwealth of Kentucky to continue the growth that we've seen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Bowling, you have 60 seconds. Yes, state roads.
Well, my partners there, they come up with the same answer that I'm gonna come up with. We've got to contact the state offices and ask for help, because they sure don't allot you too much. But we've got 42 done. We've got 1492 done. I think we've got part of 36 done. So we've been blessed to even get that done this year. As far as the allotment that it allows, rural secondary roads, we lost a lot of funding on that when the gas tax went down, 4 fell on. Our rural secondary road fund fell from $500,000 to about $350,000. Then they take about $50,000 of that for maintenance. So you don't pay too many roads, rural secondary roads, state roads, for $200,000. You might get one a year. So that's the reason that some of them's not been fixed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hamburg, you have 60 seconds.
As most everybody else has said, when it comes to state roads, state highways, and state infrastructure as a whole, you're somewhat limited as a county what you're able to do. What we can do as a county government is work with the state highway department, have open lines of communication, find out what they need from us, what we can do to move things along. Having favor with your state government is extremely important. That's one thing that, if elected, I hope to bring to the table, being able to have an open line of communication with our state representatives and state senators to be able to get things done in our county that we need. As far as county roads that weren't really mentioned, because this is much more an importance to me because it's something I feel has been overlooked for a while. We need to take a serious audit of all the roads in our county, come up with a 4, 5, 6, 10-year plan, and move forward on that as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Long, you have 60 seconds on this question.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Lewis, I wrote down the wrong name. Confused myself. I confused you too, didn't I?
Preventative maintenance, communication, and big semis. I mean, I can drive along our 2-lane highways, besides 42 and 227, which they get the first maintenance, it seems. But, our county workers are out driving our county roads anyway, so why can't we have them, kind of look at our county road or city highways as they're driving, and give the feedback, to our magistrates or judge or whatever, and communicate this stuff, better with the state. Up in District 3, semis are breaking 47N, for example. We need some, no through traffic signs. We have culverts that are caving in. I mean, you could see the slide-ins even beginning before, they just don't happen overnight. So, like I said, preventive maintenance, communication, and dealing with the big truck traffic.
Okay, thank you. That gets us through that round on that one, and this next one begins with Mr. Hembry. The question again is another 60-second one. It seems like everybody says that they want a community center for youth here. It's come up in both the county and the city forums. Do you believe it's feasible? Is there a way the county and city of Carrollton could work together to make one possible? You have 60 seconds.
For years and years and years, over the history of Carroll County, the talk of the community center has been something that's been high on everybody's list. I do think it's something that we can look into for sure as a partnership within the county and the city of Carrollton. And I think for you to get the most out of it, you would have to do that. That being said, while we haven't developed a community center right now, or really any plans of one set in stone, we are moving forward with things such as parks and recreation that have been noticeably very, very good for our community with our local kids getting more involved. It's a tremendous program that has really improved. As far as the community center, we need to sit down with our youth. We need to sit down with different age groups, different demographics of people, and find out what they want out of a community center. That's the biggest concern I have is, do we want just a building? Everybody has a different idea of what a community center is, and to be most effective, we need to have a really good game plan before we dive into a system like this that could possibly fail like other areas have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you have 60 seconds.
Behind infrastructure again, which I've been preaching about, I think a community center would be an awesome thing for our kids. I brought this up in the first forum. People talk about bowling alleys and movie theaters, that's fine, but nowadays our kids are so, they don't get any exercise, and in the wintertime, there's nothing to do in this county. And we're halfway between Louisville and Cincinnati, so we could draw, from north and south. Not saying, we have a bunch of good guys on the Parks and Rec that have all kinds of great ideas. I think this is a really needed thing that would draw, and maybe with the people from NAS, maybe they would maybe think about moving to this county if there were things for their kids and family to do.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bowling, you have 60 seconds.
I think this has been brought up 2 or 3 times. It's possible to have a community center. It's just finding the funding and what size and what kind and how big do you want it. The things, ordinary, common community center, you're looking $8-9 million. You get one that's got all the bells and jingles, you're looking $17-18 million. So it would have to be put out to vote for the public before I consider it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Graham, you have 60 seconds.
I think the community center is an idea that's been kicked around for a long time about like the park out here. I don't think that it's a total win-win. We've got a good Parks and Rec director out here directing the Parks and Recs. He's introduced a lot of new programs. And he's made it really nice for the kids. I think we get Kaisak rolling and get it going for the rest of the community out here to use and enjoy. And it'll also give the kids something else to do there. We get that opened up and get the pool running, get camping set up out there. I think it'll be a big asset. Community center, it'll take a lot of time and it'll take a lot of money, and we also got to figure out how do we fund that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bates, you have 60 seconds.
Yes, the community center has been a topic of interest for many, many years here in our community, and it seems like we can never get to where we really want to be with it, as far as size and how it's going to be used and stuff. But I think with the addition of Camp Kaisak and the revitalization of that piece of property, that with the opening of the indoor pool or maybe some new constructions of buildings out there for multiple uses, I think we'll see some changes. With the Parks and Rec. Participation is up drastically in them areas. That shows that this is something the community wants and supports. I'll be honest with you. I got 13 grandkids and I'm run to death with so much to do. So hope everybody else enjoys it as much as I do.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Long, you get to wrap up this question. You have 60 seconds.
Well, my thing is how much you want your taxes to go up. Let's see here, a community center, I mean, it'd be great, don't get me wrong, but, $10 million, and I kind of did some looking into this, and it's rough, and I might be off a little bit, but forgive me on that. If you spent $10 million, $1 million a year to operate, 4,000 people in this county, 30-year thing, probably looking at about $7,000 a person, or to go up on taxes. I don't want that. Now, kind of my focus is on things is how about we pay attention to things that matters. Carroll County's poverty level is 26%. How about we fix things like that, the people's well-being, work on that. You want to do things for the kids, let's help their parents to get better jobs, they can provide more for their families. That's where I see it at. Thank you.
Those lights are awful, aren't they? Okay. Thank you all. We'll move on to the next question. Mr. Bates, you get to go first on this. We'll have made the round all the way through. This is another 60-second question. What is the one item, if elected, that you would want to accomplish before the end of this 4-year term that you would be elected to? Explain how you would make that happen.
Well, unfortunately, Jeff, when you're in a position of being the magistrate, there's not just one thing that you can work on, because every day it's something else. Whether it's providing health care opportunities for our community, better roads, working on that, better parks and recs, and recreational opportunities for our children, continuing to work with our education system to provide protection of our school systems. So, to just say you're just going to work on one thing, that would be great. But, when you're in this position, you have to work on multiple things to push our community forward. Thank
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long, you have 60 seconds.
Lewis, you mean? Okay, can you repeat the question?
What is the one item, if elected, that you would want to accomplish before the end of your 4-year term? Explain how you would make it happen.
Okay. One thing, you can't really focus on one thing. You know, it's kind of like Mark said there, you know, there's a lot of things you got to handle. But, you know, my thing, a lot of things would be, you know, the image of the county, you know, what it looks like coming in and out, you know, our image, our drug problem, our poverty level, here's an example is like on our poverty level. I'm gonna go back there. We got around 10,000 people, 26% poverty level. Oldham County has 66,000 people in it, and the poverty level there is 4.6%. Them are issues that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, you have 60 seconds. Be happy to. What is the one item, if elected, that you would want to accomplish before the end of your 4-year term? And explain how you would make that happen.
Well, it's like Mark said, there's not one thing that you can work on out here in the community. If it was, we'd really be stagnant. But you know, the things that I want to see finished out here is the complex put up out at the park for the kids. That's really important to finish that up out here, Robert Westrick Park. We need to finish that. Get our roads back up to snuff. Work through FEMA here, and I'd like to see Camp Cossack get revitalized and updated, brought up to date, so it can be used for more functions than just what has been in the past. Hopefully, some of the businesses around here start holding meetings out there, get the kitchen up and running where people can have weddings, cook food. There's so many ideas out there on CISOP that I'd like to see come to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you have 60 seconds.
I feel like I'm kind of repeating the same thing, but you know, again, infrastructure, the roads, communication, state highways. You know, the one thing, the complex would be nice. I know it's always about the money, but in the wintertime, our kids have nothing to do. You know, I know someone made a comment about, you know, buying a swamp out by the interstate, but I mean, I think the fiscal court has probably spent a lot of money on things that didn't really make any sense at the onset, but have turned out to be okay. So that's my comments on that question.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bowling. The question, okay. What is the one item, if elected, that you would want to accomplish before the end of your 4-year term? Explain how you would make it happen.
We'd like to get our complex up, running, kids. We'd like to get the FEMA roads done. That's gonna take 2 years of it. So, as far as getting, I'd just like to get everything up and running that we've got the project started on now. If we can get that done, campsite and the all the FEMA jobs, which is I think up to 63, 65 now. That's a lot of work and a lot of projects. If we can do that, we'll be doing good. And if we can come on board and come up with a funding for a community center, I'd like to see one. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hembry, you get to close out this one, and you have 60 seconds. I'll be happy to repeat it. I could probably do it from memory now.
Oh, that's good. All right, got to be quick on this one. to be completely honest, there's not a whole lot of things that you can accomplish in 4 years that are of ginormous magnitude. One thing that we can do right off the bat with the new fiscal court is work closely with the department heads of each of these departments, with the road department, sheriff's office, emergency managers, everything like that. Doing that, we're able to sit down, create a good budget where we can improve the public safety services that you as citizens are already paying for and receiving minimally. That's something that is near and dear to my heart, but I see it as major importance to everybody that I've talked to in this community as well. Other things that are of importance but likely not to change drastically in 4 years, increase development and housing opportunities within our community. Cleaning up is a good start, first off, and major infrastructure improvements can be started as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, that'll conclude the questioning part. We'll move now to your closing remarks, and you will have 90 seconds for those. And Mr. Bowling, it goes back to you. You get to go first. Yes. So you'll have 90 seconds for your closing.
I'm just glad to be able to work for Carroll County 24 hours a day for the last 12 years. I'd like to continue to do so and get our projects done, get the county cleaned up, the ditches and everything that's been complained about, and get all our projects done, and I would be a real happy guy to make that happen. Thanks a million. God bless all of us.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hembry, you have 90 seconds.
Again, I just want to thank everyone for coming out, taking part in this forum, getting informed. I'd be more than happy to speak with anybody further on any other issues that weren't brought up today. With a little bit more length, I'm happy to do that. I just want to let everybody know that I'm a public service at heart. Public servant is what I am, what I do every day in my daily job. That's the only reason I'm interested in this position, is to help you, help my future family in decades to come. Carroll County has a major opportunity to be a wonderful place. It is a wonderful place, but we have a ton of opportunity for growth, and I want to see it offer as much as it possibly can to all of us, and that's why I hope to be your next elected magistrate in District 2. I appreciate your time, and I'd be happy to speak with anybody again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis, you have 90 seconds for your closing.
I'd like to thank the News Democrat again for letting us speak this evening. I'd like to thank my wife for all of her help and support through all this. I'm still knocking on some doors, so if I've missed you or your house, I'm on Facebook. And phone number is easy to reach. Every 4 years, it seems like we talk about this same stuff. We're like in a vicious circle, but it's in a bad county. We're not riding on dirt roads and granted all that stuff, but let's step it up a notch. I mean, maybe 4 years. We can maybe mark one of these things off our list. I mean, so that's my little short spiel. Everybody get out and vote. Thank God for the USA, and thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Long, over to you. You have 90 seconds.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and the FFA and the News Democrat for having this, and showing their interest in the people here for showing their interest and respect for our county. If I am elected as magistrate, I promise that I will do the best I can that is within me. And I encourage the other candidates of the county, if elected, to come together as one and address the issues of our county, the image, the drug problems, and our people's well-being to make our county better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, you have 90 seconds.
This is an important position in the county, and it takes commitment, integrity, responsibility, accountability, and being able to listen to issues, providing solutions to those issues, and following through with those plans. These are the things that I do best and describes how I conduct business on a daily basis. I'm a current magistrate here in District 2, serving my first term, having through 3+ years in the county government, training with 38 years of local industry. The question is that everybody has to ask themselves, whom do you think will do a better job of working through the task and face our county? Remember to vote Kerry Graham, November 6th. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Bates, you get 90 seconds for your closing.
Once again, I want to thank everybody for allowing me the opportunity to serve this community for the past 16 years as magistrate of 3rd District. It's been a pleasure and honor to be their voice in county government. We've seen a lot of changes here in our community in 16 years. Just to give you a few examples, we said let's step it up a little bit. How about the community college? How about the expansion of our local industries? What about new jobs? What about the DRC and the Scots and the ABSAC that took over these brown fields that was, abandoned buildings that we got them revitalized and reused. We've constructed two new roads in my district, or extended Ladder Lane and Floyd Drive to help the ease of traffic. I look forward to continue that success, not only for the 3rd District, but for our community. Thank you, and vote for Mark Bates.
Okay, thanks to all of you. I'll give one final introduction. We have in District 1, Democratic candidate Floyd Bowling and Republican candidate Benji Long. In District 2, we have Republican candidate Cody Hembry and Democratic candidate Kerry Graham. And in District 3, we have Republican candidate Damon Lewis and Republican candidate Damon Lewis and Democratic candidate Mark Bates. We thank all of you for taking part this evening, and let's give them a round of applause for their work this evening. We'll take a few minutes break. The FFA does have refreshments out front, so if you would like to partake of some of those, and then we'll resume with the judge executive candidates.